and welcome to the Omni Gamers Club podcast, the podcast for games on all platforms, including in the kitchen waiting for the chili to cook. My name is Mark USA,
And
and
I
I'm
am
joined
Daniel.
today.
Oh, sorry.
There you go. I'm joined by Daniel, usual Daniel Winter.
Yeah, I'm
So you
Daniel
done
Winter,
something?
less sexy Irish stand-in, Denis Ryan.
Oh, you're the body double. All
Yeah,
right,
exactly.
good, nice. Yes, it is Dennis Ryan joining us as a guest while Daniel is gallivanting away at PAX Unplugged. We're not jealous at all
How
of
dare he? How dare he?
exactly. How dare he do on the ground research for tabletop games, the cutting edge of tabletop games, which we never cover anyway. We always cover old games, but that's fine. I encourage it, and it's great that he's having fun. Go check out his channel on social media, Board Game Feast. But anyway, we're here. We're still here to talk about games. This is our playlist episode, so we'll be talking about a smattering of games that we've been playing lately. And Dennis has been gracious enough to join us yet again. How are you doing, Dennis?
I am doing super well, and hopefully, just a brief apology. My last appearance had pretty bad audio. I'm hoping that's been fixed for this one. For those of you who did listen to the entire episode, I really appreciate it. I hope it'll be much better this time.
Well, it sounds good to me. You're coming loud and clear. So I think we should just jump right in. I only have video games to cover this week, but we'll probably just do like a fast back and forth. So tell me about a game you've been playing.
Well, I know I talk about it every time I appear in the podcast, but Walkabout Mini Golf on VR is still just enthralling me. I've been playing VR now long enough that it really doesn't wow me anymore. When I put on a headset and jump into that 3D space, I'm like, yeah, looks cool. But the latest course, which came out for Christmas, we're recording this early December. When I like dived into the course, I was just like, wow, and it really just took my breath away. And you are a tiny toy scale in a huge room and a huge Christmas tree, and you're just exploring the Christmas tree as you go through the 18 holes of the course. That game, it just astonishes me still to this day. And it's running on a Quest 2. I don't have the new machines at all. So, but it just really took my breath away. So that's kind of one that's really enjoying.
That's a really cool concept. Yeah, I don't know if I've done any VR where I've been like a different scale, like a tiny person, because it definitely like makes you feel like you're there. A
Yeah.
lot of the games that I play, but
And
usually as a human.
yeah, well, and Walkabout, sort of when you finish the course, you go to what's called God mode, where you can look down over the entire course. But when you go to God mode at the end of this course, you're just normal size in a normal size room, which that was like, oh wow, I didn't expect that. I still expected to have that God mode overview, but it just, that course was just pure magic. And not to mention the fact that it was all wrapped in Christmas and had all the Christmas cheer and colors and had little Easter eggs to all the previous courses that you could find and look for and stuff. And really, really beautiful course.
Nice, that's great. Well, you are turning out to be our like VR correspondent, because I think you play VR more than Daniel and myself. I have a MetaQuest 3 that I haven't used a lot. I need to get it back, put it back in the paces. Yeah, I will get the family on the supernatural fitness program again, because that was really popular.
You should check out the new Batman game from Camouflage. They're the company who did the Iron Man VR game, which I just think is one of the best VR games out there. I can't play the Batman one because it won't run on my Quest 2, but I've heard nothing but great things about it. It's based on the Arkham series of Batman of the Batman games, and it looks fantastic, and it will get you sweating and working out.
Very good. Well, I do like the early Arkham games, so that sounds like it would be fun. All right, I'm going to mention one of my first long list of video games. I might cut them if the list gets long, but this one is I've been playing the most of, I think, recently. So it just came dropped on Xbox Game Pass. It is called Alien Dark Descent. So this game is set in the Alien film universe, the Ridley Scott Alien film universe. I think it's been out on PC for a while now, like better part of a year. So it's come onto Xbox, PC, and console. I've been playing it entirely on console, and it's working surprisingly well. So this game, unlike some of the other Alien games in the franchise, is top-down sort of 3/4 perspective. It's like RTS perspective because indeed this game is an RTS.
Wow.
Have you played this game at all, Dennis?
I have to admit, I don't think I've even heard of it. Pretty...
Yeah, I think Daniel was playing it before, so he must have bought it, but it just recently came out on Game Pass. And it's kind of cool. I was a little skeptical because Alien is about kind of like tension and fear and a little bit of chills and horror, right? And I thought, there's no way they can capture that in a kind of third person perspective. And it works surprisingly well. You start off the game as just a one person on their own, sort of escaping this sort of catastrophe. And then eventually you meet up with some colonial marines. So it's very much along the Aliens style
Mhm.
theme, much more than Alien. But nonetheless, like all of the production value is there, all of the graphic design is there. It looks surprisingly sharp for a 2D game. And what the coolest thing about this game is that it's doing a lot with the storytelling. So first of all, there's missions. I survived the first kind of prologue area, which is set in one place, and then the second place you go down to a planet and you explore a facility very much like in Aliens. So
Cool.
you have that abandoned or a mining facility or whatever, right? They
Yeah.
have in that movie, and the cool part of that movie is like most of it's shot on a soundstage or whatever, but it feels big, right? Because you see
Yeah.
the stormy weather happening in the outside, and you got that APC vehicle bursting through, and then I think like whatever his name, Bishop or whatever, has to crawl through that long tunnel to get all the way to the other side. It's
That's
just like,
of him being welded into the tunnel. Oh,
yeah,
God.
exactly. You feel the chills because even though it's a massive facility, you feel like you're penned in kind of by this storm. And this game does that to a T, but you actually get to go all the way across the facility. Like there's like an abattoir, like a literal butchery, and there's like pens where they like I guess grow animals on this space colony, and there's science labs and whatever. There's everything. You get to crisscross, you get to choose how you navigate this facility, and it's just like super duper fan servicey, and I'm really enjoying it. I don't
Oh,
want to give too much away because there's a decent story. The other cool thing about the storytelling is that in between missions, you take out a squad of like 4 Marines, and then good luck getting them back to the ship, right? Like that's the kind of fun of it. Is like you got to send them out on the missions, but how many will come back? And I guess it's a little bit like a real-time kind of like Darkest Dungeon,
mhm.
because they start to get stress, and you can track their stress using like a visual display. It's like you're a 0% stress, which means you're fine, you just landed on the mission, or you're like 100% and your like heart rate's maxing out. And when you reach 100% stress, your characters all like start to bug out, but they bug out in different ways. Like some of them are like, I don't know, they just start swearing, and they start being,
That's
I
awesome.
don't know, reckless, or some of them are nervous, or they shut down and they are non-responsive. All of them show these like psychological quirks, and if you do manage to bring them back into the ship, then they level up.
That's
But you might not. Yeah, it's super cool. You might not want to bring them out to the following mission though, because you need time to like downtime to sort of decompress. So like there's super smart game mechanisms there. And I don't know if you've played like the XCOM series.
I love the XCOM series. I adore it.
Yeah. So of course XCOM is turn based, but this game has a very kind of XCOM feeling home base. And in XCOM 1 and 2, the home base was one of the
Yeah.
coolest parts of the game, right? So you get to build out this home base, you get to choose where you invest your resources in, you get to like level up the medical bay or the research lab or the engineering facilities. And there's like interesting characters in those facilities. They have differing priorities, like they're trying to like weasel you, the main character, for different resources. And it just feels like very much in that world.
Awesome.
So I'm early in that game, but I highly recommend it to anyone who loves that film franchise. And as a bonus, I am listening to an Audible series. It's a podcast, it's an Audible original podcast from that the audiobook app. It's called Alien Out of the Shadows, and it's a dramatization of an Alien novel.
Oh wow.
So presumably you can read that novel, and it's just like it's really gelling. I'm feeling like I'm in my Alien moment right now.
That's awesome. Yeah, the Alien franchise is definitely a franchise that's hurt me a lot in the past. It's not a good relationship. I was so excited for the latest movie. I thought it looked incredible, and the first two thirds of it are. The first two acts are incredible, and then the third act
Hmm.
just, for me, nosedives off of a cliff. It brings back all the things I really didn't like about Prometheus and about the later Alien movie, and it just like,
Yeah, yeah. It's true. It's true. Alien franchise, kind of like the Terminator franchise. I was telling
yeah,
Daniel
yeah.
about
I listened to that.
an episode or two ago.
Huge fan
Yeah,
of the Sarah Connor Chronicles. Yeah,
yeah. High highs and low lows
yeah.
for both of those series, I guess. So,
Um,
this is just like nostalgia, right? Like Star Wars and Star Trek fall into the same loop.
exactly.
Anything fun and nerdy, right, is just going to
But yeah, but
disappoint
like
us.
Romulus happens within the movie, right? Like it's such a good movie. The cast is so incredible. Like the actor that plays her AI brother, like, is
Yeah.
just phenomenal. Like the fact that he can play these two completely different characters, and then the end of the movie just completely.
Well, you mentioned Romulus, and of course that has a bit of buzz. I think Daniel's a fan, if I'm not mistaken.
He agreed with me a bit about the ending. He wasn't quite as angry about it because he
Mm,
had a better response to Prometheus, but I consider it one of the worst movies ever made.
got it. Yeah, Prometheus was pretty dodgy. Yeah, I actually don't remember enough of what happened in it to have a strong
I
opinion.
I got trapped. I was brought to a theater that I didn't know how to get home from, and I couldn't leave. And I have very strong opinions about that movie.
All right, that's worth having having an outside conversation about. But I did watch the first like 10, 15 minutes of Romulus, so I'll keep watching it, and just to see what the zeitgeist is talking about.
um,
Anyways, what is not upsetting is Alien Dark Descent. It's out on Xbox Game Pass and other platforms. Play it because if you're an old school Alien fan, I think you won't be disappointed.
cool.
All right. Now, Dennis, tell me about another game you're playing.
Staying with the pseudo horror theme, but not really horror all that much, is Vampire Survivors, which I've loved in the past. I really enjoyed it. I played it on my iPad, and it runs surprisingly well on a mobile device, considering the amount of things that are happening on screen all at the same time. Vampire Survivors, for those of you who might not know, it was kind of the first big one of the single stick movement. Like you literally all you can do is move your character. You've no control over the weapons of fire, and they just trigger at certain times and in certain directions. That's it. And you level up and buy new things, but yeah, it's a single stick shooter. But they just released a Castlevania DLC, and of course, Vampire Survivors was very heavily influenced in both visuals and music and everything with Castlevania. So having an actual official collaboration with Castlevania was just too good to pass up. I did delete Vampire Survivors from my device months ago because I found I was spending too much time on it, and it was just like sort of taking away too much time from me. But I put it back on to play the Castlevania DLC, and my goodness, it's just so much fun. Having Richter and Simon and Alucard and Dracula and all of them as playable characters and running around just killing vampires and killing monsters and having just a screen full of epileptic inducing flashes was just it was just a fun experience.
Yeah, I'm actually, we've done a full episode about Vampire
Yeah.
Survivors. So anyone's interested can check our back catalog
Mhm.
and catch our feature episode on Vampire Survivors. I think I came out a lot more positive than Daniel did on the game, and I think I still hold true to that. I played a decent amount of that game, but I haven't gone deep into the DLC. So I haven't played the Castlevania one that you mentioned, but I'm eager to try it.
Yeah.
Ironically, Vampire Survivors is something I enjoy playing with my family. Like my kids, both my kids are into it. It's
I'm the
easy to
exact same.
play. Yeah,
Like I said, it's one stick shooter. Like my kid can literally play it on the
yeah,
iPad.
exactly. And you can kind of like, feel good about like kind of backing each other up. Is like, don't go over there. We got to stick together and go this direction. And you can kind of like lightly strategize amongst yourselves and play off of each other's strengths and weaknesses. So it's fun that way.
Yeah.
It's good, wholesome fun.
It's definitely but it's definitely designed to like in short bursts and take up a bit of your time and stuff. and I just needed to like step away from it for a while. But the DLC was great, and my son loves Among Us, so I did buy the Among Us DLC, which is actually more. It's an adventure story, so you have
Yeah.
some of the maps, but you can play through an actual story mission as well, and kind of explore the world in it, and learn all the characters. We enjoyed playing through that, and he loved playing as the monsters and stuff.
Yeah, my kids and I have played the Among Us DLC as well, and it's sort of like incomprehensible what's happening there. Like there's
Right.
just it's maybe like even more chaotic than vanilla Vampire Survivors.
Well,
There's
check out
just
Castlevania. It's even more
okay.
chaotic again.
Oh, they're ratcheting up the chaos level.
Yeah, one of the
With
nice things about the Castlevania DLC is that it's not like a whole bunch of different maps. It's one giant map, and it's the castle, and you get to explore it, and you can't do it all in one sitting. So you unlock parts of the castle, and then there's little portals that allow you to portal further into the castle. You can start like deeper into the castle and unlock more elements of it.
oh wow.
Yeah. And they give you one of the early unlocks is they give you the map of the castle, so you can zoom back out and see like the whole castle and be like, "Oh, I need to go over there. I need to do this. I need to do that." So it's again just different experience.
That's really cool. I think that company, I forget their name. It's something really short. They're doing some really cool stuff with that game because they could have done the bare minimum
Yeah,
and kept it really like predictable, really boring upgrades. But each of the upgrades has been interesting, taking it into different directions, adding new elements. I think that kind of like Japanesey or Asian themed one had more like kind of defined places, settings with more a sense of geography to them as well. So, I'm for that. I think that's great.
and I mean, the fact that they actually like Castlevania, we're happy to work with them. I mean, given that they are their early edition was very much like not a knockoff, but heavily inspired. But then
Yeah.
that like have that friendship and that like camaraderie amongst the teams is just great.
Yeah, well, I mean, Konami is just like a holding company at this point for what is it, pachinko machines, right?
Yeah,
Right. So they'll license out whatever to anyone. So that's
yeah.
that's good to see. They have plenty of old material to reboot and re-release, like they're
Bring
doing
back
Metal
Solid
Gear
Snake.
Solid 3. Yep. They're doing Metal Gear Solid 3 right now. I think it's coming out soon. So that's really cool. Yeah, Vampire Survivors. Love that. I should convince my kids to play some of that with me over the holidays. Okay, I'm going to mention another game that I just started playing tonight, right before I jumped on this recording with you. I think this might have
Great
been the
news.
first, yeah, this first day that it might have been publicly available to the wider audience. So the game I'm mentioning right now is also an Xbox exclusive, I think. I think it's Xbox and PC exclusive. It's called Indiana Jones and the Great Circle from Bethesda Publishing. I think they're called Machine Games,
Right, yeah,
the dev. Right. Their past games include the new, what is it?
Wolfenstein.
The Wolfenstein, sort of the latter
Yeah,
remake series.
the New Order and all that sort of stuff,
Right. And I think they
which were
might have
incredible.
done. Oh yeah, yeah, they're really impressive. I haven't played all of them, but I played through the first one, and they also did, I think, Chronicles of Riddick, maybe
That's right. Yeah. Oh my.
back in the day.
Yeah. They did the prison one, like the first video game after the original movie, before all of the
Right,
dreck and garbage was turned added onto
right,
it, and it was
and I
just
think that was right. I think that was way back in the 360 days that
yeah.
one came out. So great pedigree there. So far I've only played through the prologue, and I've left through. Actually, there's kind of like two prologues. I don't want to give too much away, but like this game is so fan servicey. Like it is just so far, it's just fan service upon fan service. And it's a little bit actually a touch confusing because they're like, hey, didn't this happen in this movie? Or like, didn't this happen? But they're also weaving in slightly new things. Like, so they're talking about this character that I'm pretty sure is not in any of the films. So they're weaving in the old with the new. And this game looks great. I wouldn't say that it looks as next gen as some other games you might mention. Like last feature game we were talking about, Daniel and I, we talked about the Senua's Saga Hellblade 2. And Hellblade 2 looks like really great. It's just like dripping with like amazing visuals. And this game is like almost there. I feel like it's like 75% there, but not quite like 100% next gen. Even though I think it is only available in this generation of Xbox, if I'm not mistaken. But it still looks great. Like I was just thinking, oh man, if they did the next like Elder Scrolls game in this engine, it would look fantastic. Like there's actually facial expressions, there's actually impressive lighting effects, objects like look real in the place when you set them down, when you pick them up.
And the sound effects of those punches, those music thunk thunk,
Oh yeah, yeah,
real.
for sure. Like so far I haven't really done a lot of fisticuffs because it just doesn't come up in the first couple of scenes that much. It's more like, the traditional like exploration, like
Yeah.
whip and jumping and climbing and stuff like that. But when I was just walking around, one of the scenes is at what is it, Mason College or whatever his
Yeah.
university that he teaches at, right? So I was just walking around, like exploring. So I appreciate that there's a decent amount of exploration and sort of like there's a really light puzzle early on in the game, and I thought, oh, this is like a nice change of pace. It's like I
Mm.
thought this was going to be all actiony, but no, there's like a really really gentle light puzzle or two.
Yeah,
Some of
I
them
think
are
I think people were
very,
expecting Uncharted with Indiana
yeah,
Jones,
right,
and that would have been just a very easy thing to do, right? It would have been a very easy
right.
thing to redo Uncharted as Indiana Jones because but they haven't done that. They've turned it into like its own thing, and it's very much closer to what the movies were. There was a lot of like slow character development and puzzling out, like, oh, what does this mean, and how does this object interact with that object, and things like that. So
Yeah, welcome changes of pace because, like, if you think about it, the Indiana Jones movie series weren't exactly all about
no,
rollicking action either. There was actually, decently slow periods. There's a lot of like kind of noir-ish, kind of old school movie serial sort of over the top dialogue, overly dramatic dialogue, a lot of stereotypical things. It's just a slower paced movie from a different time. And this game like really captures a lot of it well. Like some of the cuts between scenes, like the transitions, the facial expressions, kind of the zooming in on the action. It just feels very, very like filmic. Feels very much like a cinematic experience. And the first person doesn't bother me at all. It feels very natural. And the cuts between the first person and the third person are timed really well. They're directed really well. So I'll just say that it's early on, but I'm impressed with what I see so far. And I can't wait to go back to that world.
so that's two examples of video games continuing legacies of older movies when the new movies have completely flopped.
Yeah. What can you say is like, I don't know. Maybe like films are not a great platform for. I
Nostalgia.
mean, I mean, they're not a great platform for nostalgia. You're right. Is like it seems like TV shows and games have had a lot more success with recreating some of these beloved old worlds. Like Star Wars obviously is the prime example of it. The Jedi Survivor games have been fantastic, great fan service, nice cameos here and there. I've been playing a decent amount of Star Wars Outlaws, which is like I guess the latest Star Wars. But I don't know, like even in what was it with the Acolyte series and the what was it Kenobi series? There was a lot of like fan lash back for some reason. Probably a
Yeah.
lot about a lot of the casting, the woke casting, right?
On the other hand,
But
Skeleton
sad.
Crew is doing really well. I know this is a bit away from
Oh, good.
our oeuvre, but I've really enjoyed the first two episodes of Skeleton Crew. Absolutely beautiful, very nostalgic. But one of the things they've done is they've on purpose they've positioned it outside the standard Star Wars universe. It's
Mm.
kind of on the edge of the fringes, and yeah, there's references and stuff, but they have a lot more freedom to tell their own story. So the fans are a little bit more forgiving. They're like, yeah, okay, we're on board because they're not stepping on the story I have in my heart or whatever. That kind of rubbish.
Yeah. And it's a different sort of genre too, right? It's still sci-fi, but it's doing that sort of kids on bike, Stranger Things thing, and Goonies type thing. And I guess that's kind of like a thing that was popular in the 80s as well, with
Yeah,
obviously Goonies and Gremlins and things like that. So yeah, so I don't know. I guess a lot of companies are sort of shying away from these big blockbusters. Even Disney and I guess it's still Disney. I'm seeing Star Wars and Marvel with their Disney properties have been burned a lot on the silver
Yeah.
screen. So maybe the smaller screen is where it's at for a lot of those retellings. Anyways, listen to us. It's Film Talk on the Omni Gamers Club. All right,
Omni
let's talk another game.
Omni Media.
Yes, Omni Media's Club. All right, how about Dennis? Tell us about another game you're playing.
So, recently, I had the joy of a friend's birthday party, and his kind of request was to play his favorite games. He does it every year. So I had the joy of jumping back into playing Cosmic Encounter, which is a game that's been around since the 70s. The most recent version of it is from Fantasy Flight Games, and both he and I have like everything for this game.
Oh, cool.
We're both huge fans. I have all of the expansions. I just get them for the aliens. Each expansion comes with its own like extra stuff, tech decks or command chips or whatever. All that just goes into the box and never looked at. I just want those 30 new aliens in every set. But yeah, so we played 2 games of Cosmic Encounter, and that game is still utter chaos and hilarious and just silliness, and you just have to embrace it because it's unbalanced in the best possible way. And then, so that was a great time. And then we finished off the evening with a game of Heat, Pedal to the Metal, which we've been loving as well. So these are 2 board games, just in case, because I know we're talking about video games recently. But Heat was amazing. We played one of the new maps from the new expansion set that included rain and hairpin turns, and it was a really good race. And I managed to come third on the final turn, so it was very, very dramatic, and there was lots of cheering and laughter. Heat is a fantastic hand management racing board game, and yeah, it's been. I have it. I also have it in my collection with the current expansion as well. And there's a new expansion coming out early next year that I'm very, very excited for.
Very nice. Yeah, I was reminded that you are actually our racing game correspondent as well, because you
Yeah.
play a lot more racing style games than Daniel and I do. So
And
glad,
speaking of
glad to
which,
hear it.
Thunder Road Vendetta expansion just showed up my door a couple of days ago. So I'm looking forward to getting that to the table at some point. It's a Destruction Derby arena mode rather than the race that is Thunder Road. So looks very cool. But yeah, that's my. I'm sure any longtime fans of the show know that I'm a huge fan of Restoration Games. Thunder Road Vendetta is literally, I will say, I'll sing its praises all day long. I think it is the best Kickstarter I've ever backed. It has met and exceeded all my expectations in every single way. It brings me such joy every time I look at the box.
Right. Yeah. As I recall, you were wearing the shirt to prove last time you were on the show too. So I believe, sir, that you are a true and honest fan of Thunder Road. So I haven't played any of Heat, but I have had the pleasure of playing Cosmic Encounter 2 or 3 times in person. And that game, it has a bit of a love or hate kind of notoriety to it, deserved or not. I actually am a fan of the sort of the chaotic, unbalanced
Mm-hmm.
nature of the game. It's really about like pitting really varied abilities against each other and a lot of chance due to card draw and things like that. But I say, if to all those out there who might be saying, well, that's just unfair and unbalanced, maybe you need to, face a challenge,
Yeah, I mean,
face the unexpected.
it's a game where like one person can win, or everybody except one person can win, and it's because it's all about negotiation. It's all about talking. It's all about like outplaying your friends and stuff. I mean, I think in our game, everybody except me and one of the 2 games we played. Everyone except me and one other won because I got too smart for my own boots, and I thought I could win by myself on the next round. So I sided with the losing side, and then we got cried. But it was funny, I went into it. Also, it was very much a case of like every now and again we weren't certain about a wording or how a power looked, and on the night it was just like the whole group was like, we don't care, whatever's funny, let's do that. If we want to look it up, we'll do it after the fact, and we'll keep it in mind for future. But honestly, like this game is not about balance. This game is not about fairness. This game is about just having a laugh with a whole bunch of friends, and being over in like 35, 40 minutes, and then playing a
Right.
second round.
Set it up and see what happens. I think the design team behind A Cosmic Encounter was also the same team that did the original Dune board game.
That is correct, yeah.
And for the longest time, that game was unavailable, not out of print, and it was sort of became like a holy grail game. Like you had to get a copy of that if you could. The only way you could play it was through like a, what is it, Twilight Imperium themed, not Twilight Imperium,
Rex, Imperius
Rex.
from
Yeah.
Fantasy Flight. I believe using the Twilight Imperium characters, I think.
Yes, that
And it
the
wasn't quite.
characters. But I think the designers, their philosophy was, what's the point in playing a balanced game, right? You have just let chaos reign, and I'm kind of for that. Not all the time, but I believe those games sort of deserve to exist because who wants the predictable?
Yeah, but the difference between those two is that Cosmic Encounter can be at least 45-minute game, even with the chaos, because people can be like, well, let's all six of us just team up and win, and to hell with those two over there. Whereas Dune is a 5 or 6 hour game regardless, and I got stuck in a 5 or 6 hour game where I knew on turn two that I couldn't win. So
Mm.
rather like Prometheus, maybe this is for a discussion. This is for the I don't know what would you call it, like a rant, a special ranting episode where Dennis just goes on a long rant about the board games and movies that he hates.
Uh,
I will say I very much, when I say I hate them, I very much love people who love them and can discuss it with me, because I hate them in a humorous fashion. I can absolutely see the
mm,
quality for all of them. I mean, going back to Prometheus, Michael Fassbender is incredible as David. Didn't particularly like the character overall, but I can see the quality. I feel it's a comedy hatred. I laugh about it. I'm not actually angry about it. But yeah, I don't ever see myself playing Dune ever again.
yeah, it's not for everyone, but I think that's the point. Was like the game should be allowed to exist for the few people that love it, or a
Exactly.
large number of people who love it. Right. Not for everyone means it's a game for someone. And what is a game that is for everyone, anyways? All right, I'll talk about another game that I've been playing. Another one that's new to me. I think it's relatively new to Game Pass as well. It is called Nine Souls, or Nine Sols, Sols, and it is a game that is a 2D side-scrolling action sort of Metroidvania. Let's just call it
Oh
what it
wow.
is. But it is kind of like sci-fi Chinese mysticism themed. So I believe it's by a Chinese developer or publisher. I'm not certain, but it has, Chinese kind of design detailing to it and symbolism of Buddhism. But I didn't really realize it until after the prologue, but it's also a sci-fi game. So you think it's just like old school fantasy mysticism because the main character is like a cat man who has a sword, and he wears a very mysterious hat at the beginning of the game and these flowing robes, and you think, oh, here's just some cat swordsman who's going to kick
Mhm.
some ass slashing people up. But no, you don't realize that there's this whole like conspiracy with the ape men, which are basically humans. There's humans in this world and they're called ape men, and they're living under the thumb of some sort of like evil alien race that the ape men believe are gods, but the Catman swordsman is going to show them the way, and there are all these layers to it. It's like a conspiracy, but ostensibly this is an action game. And this game, it actually reminds me a lot of another one, the name of which is escaping me right now, but it's another 2D Metroidvania with like a little character. The bug, what is that game? Hollow Knight. Is that
Oh
it?
yeah.
Is that the one? Hollow Knight, the one with the
Yeah, I
little
know how. Yeah,
beetle
2D.
man.
Yeah.
It feels like very much inspired by Hollow Knight. I know these sort of side-scrolling Metroidvanias are not exactly new. Lots of inspiration comes from a lot of different sources, but it kind of covers it exactly to a T. You got healing charges. You got 2 healing charges to start. You can unlock more later. You got these gems that you can sort of these artifacts that you can install, and you can extend your life meter. And there's like a mini map you can explore. So all that sort of stuff. But I don't think Hollow Knight has a parry mechanism. This game has a very, very prominent parry mechanism, and they introduce it. It's like pretty much the first thing they tell you about. So they intend to make it a very, very prominent, and it does a weird thing actually. So you're supposed to parry, and you're supposed to put I think it's a sort of a ward. It's like a sheet that has a sort of mystic spell placed on it, and you're supposed to capture the guy that you parried quickly, and you're supposed to hold down this button, and if you hold it down for a while, then the character explodes, which is cool. It's cool to look at. And like only the weak characters explode.
Yeah.
This is not going to work on the bosses, obviously.
Mm.
But I just thought it was a weird choice. It's like, why would you enter into a frenetic sword fight, parry, and then hold a button down for a while? It just seems like really counter. It stops the momentum of the combat. It doesn't feel natural to me yet. I played it for, I don't know, 2-3 hours, and I enjoyed what I played, mostly for the exploration. And mostly I'm just not parrying. I'm just choosing not to. I'm just sort of dodging. And maybe that's just the style of player I am, but I'm like a swipe, dodge, swipe, swipe, dodge, swipe, swipe, dodge sort of player.
Yeah.
And the parrying is not really working for me. So I don't know how successful I am going to be at this game, because it seems to be pretty central.
After you just gave the initial like blurb as to what type of game it was, I immediately pulled up the trailer and just watched the trailer here and decided while you were talking.
Yeah.
And I could see that like that parry block thing or power thing. But
Yeah.
one thing, I love how they call it Tau Punk.
Oh yeah. I had not heard that.
Because it's that whole and I guess that's what it is. It's like you're parrying and then you're like holding energy and then it just like.
Yeah, I appreciate it as a change of pace. Like, it doesn't, that part of it doesn't feel like any other Metroidvania I've played. But I don't know, like, do you play a lot of games with like parrying mechanisms in them?
There's one, I'm trying to think of one that uses the parry mechanism as a core thing as well. I think Metroid Dread isn't there like a parry mechanism in Metroid Dread? Yeah, there is. There's a parry mechanism in Metroid Dread where you can like parry past enemies and like get behind them and then fire from behind. I haven't played a whole lot of Metroid Dread because it's a bit more. Well, when it initially came out, it was very Twitch based. Put in some really nice accessibility features later as part of the patch that I really really appreciated. Because I don't have Twitch skills anymore. But yeah.
Yeah, I've only played Metroidvania for like a week-long rental from the library, so I haven't played it extensively. But it is a lot more frenetic and fast-paced than a lot of the other Metroid games in that series, which are usually like really slow, take it at your own pace style games.
Yeah.
So I guess I'm just not good at parrying games. I'll just admit that freely. Parrying is in, I think, a couple of the games we covered recently, Senua Saga 1 and 2. It's a pretty prominent parry mechanism in each of those. I wasn't very good at those. I don't think Daniel did parrying at all, if I remember correctly. And Another Crab's Treasure has a decent parry mechanism, but I think the sign of a good action combat game is if they give you those options, but you can choose how, right? Because if it was just you had to do it a certain way, then it'd just be like it might as well be a rhythm game or something like that. You just have to press the buttons at the right times.
You know, actually, the game I'm thinking of is, and because the reason I'm thinking of it is because we were talking about it earlier. It's the Arkham series. The Batman Arkham series is a very
Yeah. True.
That's the one.
Yeah, I think you're right now that I think back on it. But I haven't seriously played an Arkham series game probably since number 1. Like, I think I 100%ed Arkham Asylum, because that game's like dope as heck. Love that game.
I enjoyed 2, and I stopped after that.
Yeah. Yeah, I started Arkham City, just couldn't get into it. I think it was a little bit less focused than Arkham Asylum.
Yeah,
I
had a really fun experience with Arkham Asylum when it first came out. Those gorgeous Predator maps where it was like you had to take down all the bad guys as quickly and silently as possible.
Yeah.
I got the game on like straight up on release and a friend of mine did, and we started seeing each other's times on the leaderboards, and we started battling each other's times on the leaderboards, and we ended up getting like, because they did like global leaderboards, but they also did like local ones, and we lived in Ireland at the time, so the player base was very small, so getting up to the top 10 was not that hard, and then we were battling for like second and third, and sometimes we'd even get up to first with the times and stuff. But honestly, it was really just the two of us. I'd wake up in the morning and be like, he's beating my time. And then I'd have to get on and beat his time. And we just had such good fun fun with those Predator maps.
Leaderboards. That's there's something very old school about that. It's like you're playing pinball at the local five and dime. That's really
But
cool
you're
to hear.
but you're using mooks and thugs as the
Right. Yeah, that makes me want to go back to play Arkham City, though. I should probably continue on there. But yeah, parrying games, I'm not good at them. There's the news blast for everyone out there, if you were wondering. All right, Dennis, tell me about more games you're playing.
Yes, I got a board game to show off, and I've got a sample of it right here. So, this, for those of you listening on the podcast, I'll read it out as well. But for those of you watching the video, this is Disney Edition Chronicles of Light, Darkness Falls. This is a beautiful, fully cooperative, mission-based little action game. The four principal characters in this set are Maid Marian, Belle, Moana, and Violet from The Incredibles. It's a gorgeous game. It's wonderful that it has all of the women heroes, not necessarily princesses, the Disney women heroes, and it's really, really good fun. And it's fully cooperative. It's got some really neat mechanics. The map is built, it's modular. Each character has a certain number of map tiles, or sorry, each character has particular map tiles associated with that character. So if you're only playing a 2 or 3 player game, depending on who you're playing with, you'll have different map tiles available to you. But then every game you're playing, you'll build that map different every time, so it's going to feel different every time. And then it's mission based, and they've got like each character has a couple of missions that they could do, and you'll pick one to do each game. And once you complete that character's mission, you unlock a special, extra strong ability for that character. And everybody's working together to do it. So some of the missions can be like, I have to travel here to this location, pick this thing up, and bring it to another location. Some of them could be, I've traveled to pick up the location, but then I got to give it to you, Mark, and then you got to finish the mission for me, right? It's that kind of fully collaborative, right? And we're all working together. And then to really support that, it's not a turn-based thing. It's not like I do an action and you do an action, and I do an action and you do an action. On the heroes phase of the round, we have 6 actions that we can do, and we just decide how those 6 actions play out. Do I do like 4 straight away, and then you just do 2? Do you do 1, and then I'll do 3, and then you do 2? Whatever it is. Absolute freedom as to what order you do the actions in, and you discuss that with the other players. And I bought it principally for my daughter and me to play, and it's been a really, really nice experience. I haven't played it quite as much as I would like to, but it is a beautiful, beautiful game. And full disclosure, it is designed by one of our Vancouver game designers, Pam Walls. She's did Blob Party and I can never remember Blob Party and something else, but I'm blanking on the other one in the past. And this is kind of her first. This is huge for her, like having the Disney license and everything. And she's a wonderful, wonderful YouTube channel where she talks about all about design philosophy and how she, especially talking about Chronicles of Light. She talks about how she was approached and how she got the gig and how the prototypes and stuff, and it's been really good, cool to watch. But the final product is pretty special. The fact that it's called Disney Edition, and then it has like Chronicles of Light : Darkness Falls. I hope there's more coming. Whether it's a Star Wars edition or a Marvel edition, or just like another Disney edition with something else as the tag or whatever, because we've really enjoyed it. I'm hoping. I mean, I don't know, but I'm hoping that we're going to get more.
I think that wouldn't be too surprising. Star Wars wouldn't be out of the question. I know that they started with Disney for the Villainous series, right? The Villainous board games. And then they quickly moved over into Star Wars. So those are kind of the big Disney pillars these days, right? It's like the traditional Disney, and then Star Wars, and then Marvel. It's the tent poles that are holding that whole corporation up. So I wouldn't be surprised if there was another, what did you call it? Chronicles of Light in those different flavors.
I hope so. Really enjoy it. And the idea is
very cool. Nice. I've not heard of it at all. So thanks for bringing that to my attention. I played a co-op game with my kid today, but I can't actually talk about it because I'll be talking about it in a future episode. Ooh, my secrets. Very cool. All right. So we probably have time for just about another game each to talk about at length. So I'm just going to break the rules, and I'm going to mention 3 games in quick succession because they're kind of related. So I've been playing, I've got Persona 5 Royal when it was on sale recently on Xbox of all places, because I started playing it there when it was on Game Pass. I had played through the first and a bit dungeon, and I just recently started it up again, and I beat the second dungeon of Persona 5 Royal, so I'm glad I got that out of the way. And it's a really solid game. obviously. Persona 5 is only now being outshadowed by Metaphor Refantasio, which is the new game by that publisher and dev, which also carries on a lot of the Persona style gameplay. But for me, I wanted to finish off Royal because I really like Persona 4, and Persona 5 has a cool cast of characters and an interesting design. Another game I was reminded of, I realized, why am I playing Persona 5 Royal, a game now that I own, when I should be playing another JRPG that is on Game Pass before it leaves Game Pass? And this is the way my brain works. I'm sick in the head. I just can't enjoy the games I want to play. I have to play games based on schedules, arbitrary schedules that other people put out there for me. Neither can I just sit down and just play one game and finish it till the end. It's the curse of being a podcast and YouTube show host. So I picked up Tales of Arise. I downloaded it again. I started this game actually on PS4, I think. It played okay there. And I got actually decently far before I had to return it to the library. But it's been on Game Pass for a while, so I downloaded it, and I'm just kind of like fast forwarding all the cutscenes I've already seen. And I think I just beat the first boss in the first area, and that game is really sharp. My apologies, first of all, goes out to Alex McKenzie, who was a guest on one of our previous episodes. I think he was a guest on the Lord of the Rings Duel episode. He implored me to continue playing Tales of Symphonia. Tales of Symphonia? Or was it Tales of Fantasia? I think it was Tales of Symphonia, which I got a decent bit in on the Steam Deck. Something about it, I don't know, just like the story started falling apart a little bit after I flipped over into the other world. And I haven't gone back to it yet. I've just got lured in by the newer, cleaner engine and graphics of Tales of Arise. And it is really sharp. Like, the gameplay is really smooth. The combat is really smooth. The graphics look good. The character designs are sharp. Have you played Tales of Arise, Dennis?
I'm not a big JRPG fan.
Okay,
Overall.
well that explains it. That's fine. That's fine if you don't like them. I don't always love them either, but I have a soft place in my heart for JRPGs ever since I played Dragon Warrior on the NES, on my first JRPG. Tales of Arise, I don't like the characters as much as Tales of Symphonia. Something about the characters in Symphonia, they're really charming, a nice, well-balanced party. And in Tales of Arise, for some reason, you just start with two characters for a really long time. And like, the characters are not that charming. I guess the two starting characters are a little bit like oil and water, so they don't hit it off naturally. But they're starting to warm up on me, but not enough yet. Anyways, that game looks really sharp. The cinematic storytelling is strong. The level designs are decently strong. Typical JRPG stuff, just very linear, very sort of, you can't really make character choices at all. You're just going where the game tells you to go. So not very much, a lot of player control, but the journey is attractive and enjoyable along the way. So that's my JRPG jaunt. And the third game, I'll just quickly say, is Star Wars Outlaws. I'm still playing that game. It's still good.
Awesome.
All right. Well, I'm going to pass it over to you, Dennis, to tell us about maybe one or two more games that you enjoyed or are enjoying recently.
So this is actually a very quick one because technically I haven't been playing it yet. In my job in Rain City Games, a customer came in asking about role-playing games for young kids, for getting their kids into role-playing. And he had a list. He mentioned No Thank You Evil, which we carry. Magical Kitten Saves the Day. I think it was it.
I own both of those.
Yeah, so really fun. But then the third one he mentions was Doe, Pilgrims of the Flying Temple. And I was immediately taken back because that is a book that's been long out of print, but that I own. It's a gorgeous, gorgeous book by Daniel Solis, who's a wonderful game designer that I've been a fan of for many, many years. And I just hadn't heard about it in ages. And this has been kind of like on my shelf, and I'd completely forgotten that I even owned it. So I just pulled it down and went through it, and it's it's very much styled on the Avatar: The Last Airbender type of thing. But the heroes are basically, you're not so much battling big monsters or big evils, but you're just battling not nice situations and making the world a better place and trying to make everybody happy and, protect people and be nice. So I've just been reading through this again with an eye on maybe running with my kids at some point. It's really gorgeous. And then, as I was looking for this today, I slipped it back up on my shelf. I was pulling it out from my shelf today, and I realized I didn't even realize that I own this. I don't even remember buying it, but apparently I have Do Fate of the Flying Temple from Evil Hat, which is a re-implementation again with Daniel's work, but using the Fate core system,
the Fate engine. Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah. And I completely forgotten that I even. So my apologies to my Evil Hat friends and to Daniel, but I literally found this while looking for this very recording. So I'm very excited to read through this as well. That's funny. Games I haven't played yet, but I'm very excited to talk about it and to get back to the table. And it was just wonderful to have that customer come in and jog my memory that they exist. And yeah.
Nice. I could tell you about a whole bunch of TTRPGs that I've been meaning to play, but I won't because I won't bore you there. The list is long. Daniel, it looks like he's picked up a bunch of interesting items at PAX Unplugged, so I'm looking forward to that. But I'm going to ask you on the air, Dennis, if you will join us to play an RPG one-shot between Boxing Day and New Year's Day this holiday season. Do you have time to join us?
You will. I will hope. Yeah, I will make the time.
Excellent. I love to hear it. I don't know what system we're going to play yet, but we'll play something fun. Maybe we'll play something you dig out or something that Daniel has or something I have. I just want to play something new, mix it up. That's awesome. Well, I've been wanting to get you to sit down and play an RPG with us for a while. And I think you said you like RPGs, but you don't get to play them that often.
Yeah, it's one of the hobbies it's one of the parts of the hobby that I kind of fell out with. Part of it is I used to love GMing.
Mm-hmm.
And with my Parkinson's, depending on the time of day and depending on other factors, improvisation isn't necessarily always the best and always the sharpest. And it just kind of frustrated me a little bit. So I think maybe as being a player or just being, a bit more, yeah. So
totally
I love role playing games. It's been a really important part of my hobby. It's been a really important part of my building my friends. I think it's one of the best hobbies in the entire world because it lets you talk through emotions. It lets you talk through traumatic moments in a safe space. It lets you have action and adventure. And it's like, telling stories is something that we've done since like the dawn of man. There's cave paintings of people telling stories, and we do it when we're running around in the playground as kids, playing cops and robbers and all this sort of stuff, and just like, it's something that I think more of us should do. I mean, like actors will always say that I've heard certainly there's a few actors that said it's not a job for them. They get to come and tell stories and play all day long with their friends.
Yeah, I totally agree. And for me personally, I'm finding it's like quickly becoming my primary gaming avenue of interest. I wish I could only play more of it, but more and more board games are less interesting to me and RPGs are more interesting to me. But that said, I'm trying to sort of be happy with the games I have.
Yeah.
I guess that's going to be my New Year's resolution, is to buy fewer things, play the games I have, see people more.
Good luck.
Yeah, thank you. All right. Well, I want to thank you, Dennis, for coming on the show again. You're definitely our special guest with the most appearances now. You've cemented your footing in the ground, and
I love it. I really enjoy it, so glad to be back. And hopefully the audio is much improved this time around.
I'm sure it'll be. I'll make sure of it. And we should have you on show for when both me and Daniel are around. We don't want to just fill in the empty chair. You can be
a stand-in.
A stand-in. You can just come on the show and be a guest as well. So that's great. All right, Dennis, do you have anything you want to shout out, or any causes, or any projects you're working on, or anything interesting you right now?
No, I'm enjoying moving away from Twitter, being on Blue Sky, and finding the board game and role playing community on Blue Sky. It's been a wonderful experience because everybody's just so positive and happy, and it's a very different platform than the other place, which I'm still calling Twitter.
The bad place, yeah.
Yeah, the bad place. So I've been really enjoying that. I just, be good, make the world a better place, tax billionaires, all that sort of stuff.
That's all the good things in the world, my friend. All right, so are you still Quadrain there?
Yeah. Until I get famous enough that people start stealing my name, if you search for Quadrain anywhere, it's my account.
Awesome. Tell the listeners how to spell that so they can find you.
So Quaid is Quaid, all one word. So Quaid, and then Rain is Rayn. as opposed to RYN, my surname. That was a pizza box title, so I stole that. So yeah,
There you
Quaid Rain
go. Nice. Go follow Dennis on Blue Sky. That's the place to be at Quadrain. And yeah, there's plenty of good games happening, and we finally got you down for an RPG.
Absolutely.
Awesome. All right. Well, until we talk to you again, it's probably the last time for four that you'll be on anyway. So, pleasure talking to you. And to everyone out there, thanks and have a balanced diet of gaming.
Bye.
Bye.